Today's guest has a degree in English literature and still chose a career where nobody reads the lyrics. Bold move, Mike. Welcome to the Backstage Kitchen Podcast, Episode 2, the show where chefs and musicians collide, collaborate, and occasionally question their life choices on air. I'm your host, Richard Julien. Today, we've got a hell of a guest, Mike Turner, guitarist, songwriter, founding member of Our Lady Peace, solo alchemist, motorcycle enthusiast, and one of the only people I know who can quote Shakespeare and troubleshoot a pedal board meltdown in the same breath. Before we bring Mike in, let's crank through what's happening this week in the world of distorted riffs, milestones, and anniversaries. Rock news that makes the rest of the world wonder why we're so excited about turntables, reissues, and 50-year-old metal bands that still tour harder than people half their age. Last week's musical benchmarks include Lamb of God, now rolling with Century Media, dropped a new single called Sepsis, which sounds exactly as gentle as it doesn't. Rush, unveiling Rush 50, a massive career-spanning anthology packed with deep cuts, iconic moments, and more evidence that Geddy and Alex refuse to age like normal humans. As a record number of new rock and metal tours are being announced, because apparently 2026 is shaping up to be the year every band on Earth decides to hit the road at the exact same time. We'll dig into the milestones, the birthdays, the tours, the new releases in just a moment, including some monster anniversaries and a few jaw-dropping tour announcements. I'm excited. But today's headliner, Mike Turner, a man whose life's journey goes from English lit student to alt-rock architect, Juno-winning musician, producer, custom motorcycle builder, surprisingly sharp culinary collaborator. If you've ever wondered what happens when a guitarist in a library card picks up a frying pan, this episode is for you. Let's get into it. This week, we pause and reflect on key birthdays, release dates, and historical moments in heavier music. The veteran band Lamb of God recently signed with Century Media and released their new single, Sepsis. Plus, they announced a new tour. On March 21st, Rush, on Mercury and Anthem Records, they celebrate a half-century milestone marker for rock and roll Hall of Fame icons with Rush 50, a wide-ranging 50-track super deluxe anthology that encompasses the entirety of the band's long and storied career for the first time across all bands' label groups. Bookended by the first ever reissue of their debut 1973 single, and a live recording for the last song they ever performed together as a band at their final concert in 2015 in Los Angeles. Plus, there's some never-before-heard original material. Here's some new albums and artists. Fresh material is dropping and news tours are being locked in. The release calendars are deep. We'll dig into some outstanding new albums and breakthrough artists in a moment. Here's some music in the news. It's not just about music, the business, the stage, and the announcements. The festival lineups all matter. For example, 14 new rock metal tours were announced last week, including major name runs. Let's dive deeper into each of these three categories now. But first, birthdays and anniversaries. John Moyer, bass guitar for Disturbed, born November 30th, 1973. Billy Idol, solo artist and former Gen X vocalist. He was born November 30th, 1955. Rick Savage, the bass player and founding member of Def Leppard, his birthday is December 2nd. And Chris Poland, remember him? Born December 1st, 1957. He was one of the original guitarists for Megadeth on their first two albums and their landmark Practice What You Preach. That's Testament with Peace Sells But Who's Buying. Bill Steer, guitar player for Carcass and pioneer of death metal, was born December 30th, 1969. And last but not least, let's remember Randy Rhoads, the guitarist for Quiet Riot, and I think he did something with Ozzy or something, I'm not sure. No, I'm kidding. He was born December 6th, 1956. Everyone knows he was adored by fans everywhere, and Ozzy too, who took it really bad when Randy died very, very quickly in a accident in a small plane. Very, very sad. I often wonder what Ozzy's career would have been like if Randy had been with us longer, because he was just a young man. So let's head into a few new releases. In the last few weeks, Danko Jones released a new album called Leo Rising. Kiss is putting out their 50th anniversary edition of Kiss Alive. Aerosmith and Youngblood get together for a little EP. And Dream Theater Core TM Live in Paris is released. Just last week, MC50 released 10 more. And let's not forget NoFX with Fat Wreck Chords. That's their label. NoFX, the fun punk band everyone loves, and kings of the 8-second songs. And at last, Upon a Burning Body just released a new album called Blood of the Bull. If you haven't heard of Upon a Burning Body, they're a Texas-based grindcore band. They're fantastic. Probably one of the best bands you may never have heard of. All their albums are solid. I definitely recommend you checking them out. Let's look into a little bit of tour news. Foreigner and Lynyrd Skynyrd, or what's left of Lynyrd Skynyrd, are together, and they're touring in 2026 from July 23rd to August 29th. And their support act is Six Gun Sally. I haven't checked them out, but I will definitely look into them. Lamb of God is touring in 2026, and they'll be at the Bell Center in Montreal in a couple of months, March 19th. The crew is on tour again. No retirement for them. I know they've got a little bit of flack from coming back from the retirement, and obviously there's a lot in the news about Nikki Sixx and playing the bass and all those things, but it's a solid lineup, whether you like the crew or not. You can't knock them for bringing fantastic opening bands. They've got Tesla and Extreme, two amazing bands. I'm very fortunate to have seen all three of these. Tesla being, I tell you about Tesla, I saw them open in Halifax for Def Leppard on the Hysteria tour. They weren't even on my radar. I had no idea who these young kids were. I was a young kid myself. They came on, and I'm happy to say, as good as Def Leppard was, Tesla actually blew the doors off the place. They were fantastic. They had just released their first album, Mechanical Resonance, and that album today still really, really holds up. Simple, stripped production, it's just a solid rock album in the vein of AC/DC, if you want to listen to that. So let's see what other tours are going on. Weird Al is out again. He's touring a lot next year from May 26th to October 17th. He's going to be in Windsor, Ontario, July 4th, Niagara Falls on the 5th, playing the Canadian Tire Centre in Ottawa on July 26th. On the 30th of August, he is in Winnipeg, September 1st at Edmonton, and then he finishes the tour in Canada, September 2nd in Kelowna, BC. No maritime dates there, Al? Come on. Don't dare to be stupid. Come on, get out here. You put on a good show. I saw you back in the 90s at the Rebecca Cohen, of all places, in Halifax, and put a fantastic show. Always fantastic entertainment, hilarious, and great musicianship. I want to talk a little bit about a band called MC50. They're a rock supergroup formed by MC5 founding member Wayne Kramer to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the original MC5's album, Kick Out the Jams. Members included Kim Thayil, Soundgarden, Brendan Canty from Fugazi, Billy Gould from Faith No More, Matt Cameron from Pearl Jam, and Marcus Durant from Zen Gorilla. They released live albums and performed tours to carry on the legacy of the original MC5. For those of you who haven't heard of MC5, they're from Detroit, and MC5, simply put, means Motor City 5. The MC Sonic Thunder continues to reverberate half a century after they first stormed the rock world with 1969's Kick Out the Jams, the galvanizing live document that introduced a major voice of late 60s counterculture and proved incomparably influential on metal, punk, stoner rock, and almost every form of loud, boundary-pushing music that would follow. The original MC lineup recorded 2 more albums before imploding. They had 1970s Back in the USA, produced by rock critic and future Bruce Springsteen manager John Landau, and their 1971 creative zenith, High Time. The last days of 1972 also marked the final performance of the original MC5 lineup, thereby ending a turbulent existence marked by their anti-establishment political stance, mainstream radio banishment, FBI harassment, and lots of uncompromising equaled rock and roll fury. 10 More captured live during the 2018 anniversary tour. 10 More roars through MC5's most iconic songs, including the American Ruse, Call Me Animal, Rocket Reducer number 62, Looking at You, and Starship, with recordings from live shows in Seattle, Washington, Cincinnati, Ohio, and Hamburg, Germany. The album spans tracks from all 3 original MC5 albums, Kick Out the Jams, Back in the USA, and High Time, along with a cover of Ray Charles' I Believe to My Soul, which was a staple of the band's sets in the late 1960s. These performances recall the same urgencies that once echoed through Detroit's underground, where MC5 fused rock, free jazz, and political protest into a sound that challenged America's status quo. In March 2022, guitarist Wayne Kramer announced that an all-new MC5 album would be released later in the year, along with a U.S. tour under the name We Are All MC5. He later confirmed that the album would be released in the spring of 2024. Sadly, Kramer died in February of 2024 from pancreatic cancer as the album was nearing completion. The album features several guest musicians, including MC5 drummer Dennis Thompson, Slash of all people, Tom Morello, go figure, William DuVall, and Vernon Reid. What a hell of a lineup. Sadly, Wayne Kramer passed away February 2024, followed by the last surviving original MC5 member, drummer Dennis Thompson, in May 2024. So that's some of our deep cuts for legacy bands. We're going to talk a little bit now about a couple of major tours coming up next year. Iron Maiden and Rush. Let's talk about one of my favorite bands. Iron Maiden today announced their highly anticipated North American dates for their critically acclaimed Run for Your Lives World Tour in celebration of their 50th anniversary. The band will be performing at stadiums and major amphitheaters across the United States and Canada, allowing fans the chance to witness the brand new, state-of-the-art production on a scale it is intended for. Huge stages and outdoor venues to accompany the once-in-a-lifetime set list of songs from the band's groundbreaking first 9 albums. So anyone who's a Maiden fan will know that that comes from Iron Maiden, that was released in 1980, up to Fear the Dark, which came out in 1992. So these are classics. These are prime Maiden tracks. They will also headline America's biggest rock festival, Louder Than Life, at the Highland Festival Grounds in Kentucky on the 17th of September 2026. Bruce Dickinson states, "We particularly look forward to playing the huge shows in Montreal and the Alamo Dome in St. Antonio, 2 of the biggest shows we have ever played in North America. Plus, of course, Louder Than Life, America's biggest rock festival. Along with the stadium shows in Los Angeles, New Jersey, and Hershey, we have also chosen to play a few of the biggest amphitheaters, as they always have a fantastic atmosphere and great visual sightlines. We're also going to be doing everything we can to bring the hugely popular Eddie's Pop-Up Dive Bar experience across the Atlantic for the very first time. Our European fans just love these, and we're convinced that the mix of Maiden fans, Trooper beer, and exclusive tour merch makes a winning combination." Well, that's exciting because I'm going to be at the show next year, September 3rd, 2026. I'm heading to Montreal to see Maiden at Parc Drapeau. Great venue. I've seen many shows there when Heavy Montreal was a big festival that came. I've gone a couple times, and fortunately, I even had a friend who was taking care of the artist world in the back, where they would feed the entire crew and all the artists for this huge production. It's a lot of fun, lots of food, and a very organized group of chefs. So let's talk a little bit about Rush now. Again, it's been over 10 years since Alex and I performed the music of Rush alongside our fallen bandmate and friend Neil. A lifetime worth of songs that we had put our cumulative hearts and souls into writing, recording, and playing together on stage. And so after all that was gone down since our last show, Alex and I have done some serious soul searching and come to the decision that we really miss it, and that it's time for a celebration of 50-something years of Rush music. So in 2026, my BFF, Alex Lifeson, and I are going to hit the road once again and pay tribute to our past and to Neil by performing a vast selection of Rush songs in a handful of cities. No small task, because we all know Neil was irreplaceable. Yet life is full of surprises, and we've been introduced to another remarkable person, an incredible drummer and musician who is adding another chapter to our story while continuing her own fascinating musical journey. Her name is Annika Niles. And we couldn't be more excited to introduce her to our loyal and dedicated Rush fan base, whom we know will give her every chance to live up to that near impossible role. Before we hit the stage, we also hope to add another musician or two to expand our sound a wee bit and free up Alex and I in order to show off some of our fancy new dance moves. That's pretty funny, because if anyone knows Alex and Giddy, especially Giddy in the early years when he was playing, when everything was like analog, there was no tracking. That when you think about tracking, some bands will have either studio musicians on stage or underneath, or they'll have it like ghost tracks that play along with the music. And Geddy Lee was famous for using his nose to move things around between the microphones for singing, keyboards. He was playing bass synths as well, plus his bass guitar. So he took on the role of like 4 musicians while he was playing. So it's nice to hear as they're getting on that they're bringing other musicians into the fold. So he continues up by saying, Alex, Annika, and myself, along with many of our long-standing crew members, have been hard at work rehearsing and designing the kind of Rush show that you've grown accustomed to expect from us. We dearly hope you will come along and help us celebrate our history together. Well, that's great. I'm going to be at that show too next year, and I'll definitely be reporting on that on the Backstage Kitchen podcast. Hopefully get to meet some fans, do a few interviews, and see what it's like when a chef goes as a musician, journalist, if you will. So it's all part of that new adventure, which is this podcast. Metal news, the band Metal Church is ready to enter the next era, and their reconfigured lineup now includes a thrash legend with a brand new frontman. The group have recruited former Megadeth bassist David Ellefson to join the band, while they've also settled on Brian Allen as their dynamic new vocalist after recording their first post-Mike Howe album with Mark Lopez. So anyone who knows Metal Church, Mike Howe, he's not the original singer from the very first album, but he is sort of the voice for many of the classic Metal Church albums. The band goes on to continue and to introduce you to the new lineup. The band has issued a new single, FAFO, that you can stream immediately. So who's currently in Metal Church? As stated, Metal Church has a new look, a new lineup. Founding guitarist Kurt Vanderhoof remains the group's veteran presence, with longtime lead guitar Rick Van Zandt. He's also in the fold, but the remainder of the lineup is all new, with the aforementioned Ellefson taking over on bass and Brian Allen claiming the vocal spot that he took over, and the Mark Lopez, the veteran drummer, and producer Ken Mary settling in behind the kit while taking over for Stet Howland. So according to the band's press release, the group found themselves at a crossroad after a recent tour of Australia with Vanderhoof's creative drive kicking into gear. He decided that he was ready to reach out to some musicians, and he thought that would fit the band's style, and now they're making some great music. So that is the talk on some of the hard rock and metal acts that I enjoy. I hope you do too. And we're going to head now into our main event. We're going to talk to my friend Mike Turner, the founding member of Our Lady Peace. And of course, he's done other things as well. He's been a producer. He's a guitar player and songwriter with Crash Karma. It was basically a super group with Edwin from I Mother Earth and the drummer from the Tea Party. And he also was in one of the, I guess, rarest rock albums. I don't know if it's rare, but it's one of my favorite albums of all time, and you haven't heard of it, okay? It's called Fair Warning, Boy Without a Clue. It's Pete Lesperance from Harum Scarum. It's his project. What started out as a solo project for Pete became a duo, and they recorded it with some other musicians that they knew. So it's called Fairground. It's an amazing album. You should check it out. It's the only album they put out. And I always joke when I'm talking to Mike, you know, it's like, I know other people want to talk about OLP, but you got to tell me, what was it like recording with Pete Lesperance? Because I'm a huge fan of Harum Scarum as well. So that's it. We're going to sit down now with my good friend, Mike Turner. We discussed a wide range of topics, from music to AI to intellectual property. And as usual, Mike is a very intelligent, very well-spoken human, and I really enjoy his vibe. And he always brings people in first. So let's reach out to Mike right now and have a chat with him.
That's in my hair and everything, man.
I know you look great, and you got the guitars in there. You know what? I'll take some screenshots and we'll just throw that up.
You know, the funny thing is, this is where my girl, when she works from home, this is where she does it. And I mean,
Oh
to
yeah, baby.
put all,
Is that the guitar you had autographed by?
yes, it is.
I remember it, man. I remember it. Yeah,
It's
and
funny because
you got
Karen's
the
calling to
patch
be
on the
like,
back of it. Yeah,
what's with the guitars? Because she doesn't exactly advertise. I mean, she works for Sony.
yeah.
But she works for big acts on Sony.
Right
She
on.
actually did oversee some OLP stuff recently because she's sort of her. There's been a whole bunch of corporate reorg, but her position was previously sort of catalog and legacy.
Right.
Now it's a broader thing than that, but that stuff certainly comes out of it. Over 60% of the music industry's revenues come from catalog sales, from legacy artists, etc. So it's kind of a good thing. So
That's
she
why.
did actually oversee. Well, one of her team oversaw the most recent OLP releases, which was kind of fun to just be a full circle moment. But she doesn't really talk about us there. She's
Right.
try to find her on the internet. I challenge you.
She's very
She's
little
incredible.
footprint, eh? Yeah, no,
She's
I
incredible.
knew that about her. I kind of like I obviously I've had
Yeah.
dinner at your place and I've been over a few times and I've met your partner many times and yeah she's kind of under the radar kind of thing. She doesn't have a big footprint, but that's cool, man. Like speaking of that, what was great is you did that reunion tour a couple years ago with Our Lady Peace and you had the hologram. Since we're kind of on that and we got started, can you tell me a little bit about that and how and then we'll move kind of backwards to, some of the other things you were doing in your production and, I guess back to where OLP began, but I'd love to know a little bit about, the hologram and where the genesis of that was and coming out and playing, Starseed and some of those classics from the first album.
It was interesting. It was probably, what is it, 4 years ago now ish? We
Yeah.
were just in the process of getting Flying Squirrel open, so I'm basically, like, covered in dirt and playing around in torches and because we
Yeah.
reclaimed an old, just screwed up building. Anyway,
Nice.
I get a message from the guys and, because 'cause I'd been a little bit just, online in touch with Duncan and Jeremy and not so much Rain, but and so he actually called and said, "Hey, man, we're doing Spiritual Machines 2. It really wouldn't be right if you weren't involved because you were the guy with the book in the first place. And I mean, you know me
Nice.
enough to know that
Yeah.
if I like something, if there's information that excites me, I maybe focus on it a little too much.
You're all in, baby.
Everybody around me is going to hear about it if I think it's interesting. So he said, I don't know if you remember the first record. There were these what we called
Mhm.
interstitials, little
Mhm.
bits between tracks where it's
Yeah.
ambient music and spoken word.
Yeah.
Do you think you could do, a couple of those for us just to tie the, close the circle on it? And I said, well, sure. And this was a Thursday.
Mhm.
And then he came to talk to me. I said, well, send me a couple of the tunes so I know sort of the neighborhood of what things are like. And so he did. And
Sure.
we're talking. Thursday, remember, Thursday. So I said, okay, well, I'm standing there in my overalls with a, welding torch. And he says, I said, well, sure, I'm into it. What's the timeline? Well, we're going to mastering on Monday.
Wow.
Oh,
Wow.
not a lot of prep time. So, I mean, it's
Yeah.
interstitials, they're not difficult. I have, or I had tons of little chunks of music in various states of
Mm. Yeah, of
functionality.
course.
So,
Yeah.
I spent a couple hours that night and sent it off, and it was a accompaniment to the part about um, escape velocity is what Kurzweil calls it, where
Okay.
medical science adds more life than you're currently going through. So every year of medical research, you get more than a year of life expectancy. So your life expectancy is going away from you. So
Right.
that's kind of an uplifting, neat thing.
Yeah.
Next, you asked about the hologram. They were like, okay, well, we're going to do this tour a little bit differently, and we're going to have the hologram things. I mean,
Yes.
I thought that's amazing. So they'd said there was 3 songs they want me to play on. 3, I think.
Yeah.
And
I
then
know I know
so
Starseed was one.
yeah, Starseed Naveed and All My Friends.
Right. All my
Which
friends.
is
You
funny 'cause
started out with
I've
that.
never
Yeah.
played All My Friends live when I was in the band. So that was
Yes.
kinda interesting, relearning how to play that.
Yeah.
So I recorded the audio of my performance at home in my studio, and then I went up to a place in North York where they do the hologram thing, and the lovely Byron Wong was directing the whole thing. And we shot the holographic performances that then were used on the entire tour, apart from 5 dates where I walked out in the middle of All My Friends. And, Rain made a very nice intro for me on the first night in Victoria.
Very cool.
It was a very surreal feeling.
I bet.
I mean, I've been out of that for 20 years.
Yeah, I know. I
The
know.
time goes by real, real fast, and
It
I've been
does.
busy doing other stuff, so it
Lots of
wasn't
things.
it was sort of like, "Oh, right, this again." And I'll be honest, one of the main reasons I did it when discussions were had about would you come out and play as well as the hologram, being a tech nerd, of course I was gonna do the hologram, but playing, like my house, where I am and all that. So I agreed because it gave me a chance to play Massey Hall.
Very cool.
Had
Very,
had
very
never
cool.
played Massey Hall on the way up. We sort of leapfrogged it. We went from clubs to Maple Leaf Gardens. Woe is me.
Very quick. I
Um,
know, horrible thing to have, right?
it was super nice to be able to sort of, like I said, close the circle on all of these things by finally playing Massey Hall.
Wow, that is incredible. That's a neat story, and I was really glad to hear about it too. Because you some anniversary tours had come and gone, and you and I had some quick chats about it. Basically, like hey man, it'd be really cool to see you. And it was just I guess the timing was right, and the right people were lined up to do it, and had the willingness to do it, and you got to do it. So that's cool. And the hologram thing just kind of is a little feather on top of that because there's not a whole lot of bands, and it's quite new technology, really, as far as from a touring perspective. I can only name a handful of people who've done it. I think ABBA had a didn't they do a full hologram reunion
Yeah, they
tour or
they have
something
a
like that?
special theater built to do it.
Wow, wow,
I think
that's
we did
huge.
good with OLP, and I'll definitely take off my hat and give credit and doff my hat where it's due. They've very much approached that tour with a more of a theatrical bent, which
I've
is
heard
what
that.
theaters. And this may sound harsh, but I don't intend it that way. But at some point, they don't want to see a bunch of 50 somethings jumping around pretending to be 25.
Listen, I get you. I get
It's
you.
just a reality. So the fact that there was sort of a parallel narrative component, in there was two hologram sort of positions on stage. Ray Kurzweil appeared in some. Sarah Slean appeared in one. Nadia from Pussy Riot appeared in one. There was and characters from the Spiritual Machines sort of books came in, and there was a narrative concept. Like there was something that was. It made it more theatrical. It wasn't just a rock show. I thought it was really cool. I was
Yeah,
much
it
with the
it
boys.
wasn't your typical come on, few songs, wrap around chat, move forward. It was a true theatrical experience. And I've seen, doing the research and chatting with you, I seen some of the clips online. It was beautiful. It was a really cool experience above and beyond what, OLP usually brings to the table.
I think there was a neat there. Like I said, there was part of Spiritual Machines is this embracement. Did I just make up a word?
No, it's good. I like it. I'm going to use it.
Conjugate them if you got 'em. Embracing the singularity, the idea of the singularity, and that's the
Yeah,
point. Us and the technology we make become indistinguishable, and I think we're so close. We're pretty much there. I mean, who functions well without their phone?
I know.
I try to, but I'll be honest, I don't remember short-term things as much because I got
Mm,
that from the phone, and I will go back to the phone when I need that information. Recipes, holy
yeah.
crap! Again, my brain is just not built to voluntarily remember details. It will remember details about stuff that I don't really need. You know what?
Yes.
You talk about gravity wave research. That stuck in my head. Don't know why.
Right.
Remember my favorite duck breast recipe?
Nice.
Order. But do I have to read it every time I make? Yes. Yes, I do.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I come back to certain recipes that I haven't done in a while. Like this morning, I was doing some research. I've got a hands-on cooking class this weekend, and I hadn't made my egg dough recipe in a while. So I just went back to it. I printed it off for the client, obviously, but I just had to I was like, oh yes, right, right, right.
Well, I think that's a symptom. I mean, yeah, yes, we all have that. Our memories are not the steel trap they used to be, let's say.
Yeah.
But I think there is actually, and there was some research done on this and it actually showed that we've altered how we process short-term memory, basically because we are incorporating electronic access to memory.
Oh, 100%.
We don't
Yeah.
need to keep that short-term memory that I just looked up, that recipe that I just tried for the first time and made it. I don't need to try to remember it for the future because I know I will go and get it there. Rather than recall it in my mind, I will go to my phone and go, click, click. There it is. That's the information, which is the same process, the same end
Mm,
result. But like say, that little piece of technology is now,
yes.
it's
100%.
part of your mental state. So the singularity is pretty damn close.
We're like base computers, but we've got these mega terabyte hard drives all over the place that store the information we need on a daily basis. I mean, yeah, I rely on my phone a lot. I couldn't do some of the things as a small business owner. without added expense if it wasn't for technology. Now, what does that say?
Absolutely.
I don't know. It's just sort of the way it is. There's certain things that I won't use AI and whatever for, and that's certain artistic endeavor, whether it's logos, music, stuff like that. But I have used it for organizing my thoughts and for giving me a list of things to sort of go through. Because as I mentioned earlier before, I have ADHD and I need to have a list. I need lists for my lists. And I was always like that. It's funny. I used to have chefs make fun of me. They joke around. They go, "Oh, here comes Rich with his lists again." I was just an apprentice. But now I realize I couldn't have been successful in that craft if I hadn't have done it. Because my brain just goes, I'm like that dog, was that cartoon Squirrel, you know what I mean? And I'm off, right? So it's been helpful for me to have the technology for my the way my brain processes things.
Well, in that regard, I guess singularity is it's because I don't think maybe I'm jumping to conclusions, but I feel like some people when I talk about singularity or say that this is a
Mhm.
process that's likely to happen, there is a resistance and a, oh no, whatever shall we do? I'm like, no, this is all part of kind of almost just part of evolution. Like this is something we will use. We are monkeys that use tools.
Yeah.
If the tool happens to be AI, that's fine. I have personally not used AI at all, purely because I'm lazy. Like right now, I'm living in the world of motorcycles, which could not get more analog.
No,
I
that's
play
cool.
guitar. I got really hung up on a Sheryl Crow tune recently, just because it's a fingerstyle tune, and I'm like, I'm not great at fingerstyle, but it's strong enough by Sheryl Crow. Great tune. It's like,
Right on.
hey, I think that's a compound time signature. It could be 6/4. It's a 4/4 2/4 2/4 4/4 2. Yeah, and it just again, when that part of my brain gets an itch, I'm helpless. So now I know how to play that song quite well.
That's awesome.
But I am an analog person. Now, in terms of music and AI, it's an interesting set of considerations. I think there is malfeasant intent afoot, said he in very elevated language. No, I think there are people. I mean, if I built AI and the large language model version of AI, yeah, I'm trying to make money off it.
Yeah,
But
it's monetized for sure.
of course. I mean, it's the tech world, and I mean no dissent by this, but the tech people, not gonna say bro, I'm not gonna say bro. The tech people want to do their startup. They wanna get their exit strategy and get their IPO or whatever it is, and because that's and not that they're just greedy, but that's the sort of goal. The
Right.
drive well, that's what you do. You start a company, you build a company, you get a
Yep.
really good valuation, then you sell it to somebody, or
Yep.
you take it public, even better, even
Mhm.
bigger numbers.
Capitalism is built on it.
And again, like I said, I don't think it's just necessarily sort of capitalism and pursuit of the dollar. It's just goal, 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 goal.
Right. Sure.
However, getting back to where AI is, and especially in the large language model, and this brings into consideration the most important thing, the only currency that will exist very shortly. The only thing anyone will create that is of value is ideas, intellectual property. IP is going to be everything for a number of reasons. On the utopian side of technology, we are likely in the next 10 years going to be able to meet all the needs of mankind: food, energy, everything. And they will be practically worthless assets in terms of cost. I shouldn't
Mhm.
say worthless. They will largely be free. The cost of production of all of those things will be so low
Right.
because of how technology is working, and that's a bigger talk. But ideas are not free. So coming back to the AI in music, and I listened to a few things. I shouldn't say I've never used AI. I asked AI about some stuff, and they played me some music, and I was like, you know what? That's not terrible. I have
Yeah.
received far worse demos than what that AI music uh, in the past, and what that music has given me. And part of me, the optimist in me is like, well, hang on. I mean, this in a way, it's akin to bouncing ideas off people. You bounce
Yeah.
ideas off. And now, if you're the ultimate person that's steering it, then there might be some value. However, that AI was trained. What was it trained on? It was trained on ideas that it did not create, and the monetizable thing that it offers is the output of those ideas, the culmination, the all of those ideas put together. That was the thing that was valuable, not
Yes.
the referencing system that puts it into
Mhm.
a throughput scenario
Mhm.
where I can ask it, I want a modern rock with a male singer, loud
Mm.
guitars, heavy drums,
Totally.
clanging snare. Well, I just kind of did the recipe of early OLP. And if it spits stuff out that sounds a lot like OLP, wait a second, how did you get there? And
Exactly.
there has to be recognition. I don't think this is not a genie that's going back in the bottle. And I think
No,
there
it's
is
not.
a lot of effort being put on IP management and representation.
Mhm.
But unfortunately, our tendency of how we try to legally protect things and etc. moves glacially slow. Tech doesn't. Tech moves like lightning. So by the
Well,
time we come up with any kind of legislated, reasonable, discussed, argued upon, hashed out
yes.
version, here's what the large language model should be paying the creators of the IP that it is trained on.
Right.
It won't be doing it that way anymore. By the
Well,
time we've legislated it, it's
yeah.
obsolete.
It's true. It's the same back to the Napster days when, streaming was, the technology for streaming had advanced so quickly before even record companies could react to it. And yeah, and look at it now. The result of that is the streaming model, which started out with piracy. But I find with AI, it's a concentration of facts that is filtered through a cognitive process, which is the AI, which had to learn, it's like the chicken and the egg. Where did it start? And obviously, it had to start somewheres. But those are all based on human values and responses that were fed into the machine, I guess.
Yeah, exactly, and that was the thing that was valuable. I think the material that an AI is trained on, if that material, the people that are running the AI say, "Well, that's not the product. The product is the output." It's like, well, then why did you go and get it? Like,
Right.
why did you choose to train your model on this intellectual property,
Right.
this music,
Exactly.
this writing, this verbal tone, like whatever it is?
Yeah.
Why did you go and get it if it's not worth anything? If it's not worth being paid for, why did you go and get it?
Exactly. No, I get it. And it's funny, like you can become reliant on it too. Just from me organizing this podcast, I've used it a few times just to organize myself with lists. I've put in questions that I wanted. And what I did was, could you write this for me in a format that like a radio format, so my rappers and my bumpers and all the wraparounds that I'm going to do on the show, I'm using the script based on information I fed into that machine, but it's giving me a flowing text, and I can edit it as I see it, to make it sound like me. People who know me know me. I know I don't talk a certain way or whatever, but a lot of people wouldn't know. So that's what I've been using it for. But other things I haven't. So I'd love to chat a bit about the flying squirrel and kind of go from one end of the spectrum, which is the Uber, to the analog world, which you surround yourself in, and seem very happy doing so. Every time I've chatted with you, you've had lots of events there. So can you tell me a little bit about what you're doing now? What kind of keeps you busy on a day to day when you're not, playing with Our Lady Peace or you know talking to the guys from Crash Karma or anything, or any of the other projects that you've done.
Flying Squirrel Motors, like a company in Toronto, is a location where the core of the thing is a membership based model where there's a members garage area where you can park your bike. You are, if capable, you can do simple repairs on your bike. I don't want to see bikes cylinder heads off all over the floor. That's
Sure.
right in, do the work right out. Do your brakes, do your oil changes, the sort of maintenance stuff. There's also a shared workspace. It's the other half of the building. It's a pretty decent sized building, and I suppose touches on a running theme with me, I suppose. It's much more about the community than it is about the services offered. Those just facilitate the consolidation and agglomeration of this group of people. So
Right.
not all motorcycle riders. I mean, one of the motorcycle riders, Neil's getting sick of me telling this about him. One of the guys at the shop, Neil, is he's actually a brain surgeon.
No
He's not a
way.
brain surgeon, but he tells the brain surgeons what to do. They deal
Wow.
with a company. I don't think I'm going to say the company name because I'm not sure if I'm allowed to, but they
Okay.
make implants, pain maintenance implants,
Wow.
spinal implants, brain implants, and he's the guy that actually goes into the theater, the operating theater, with the surgeon and says, "Yeah, drill a hole there, now and stick
Wow.
this in a little further. Let's stop, back out a little. Okay, that's the proper placement of the implant."
My
And then he
God.
works with so the reason I bring him up, when you think motorcycle club, that's not the guy you think of.
No, you
We
don't.
have a bunch of people that are in film. We have, like, we have tech people. They actually, funny you should mention AI a moment ago. One of the people, Sarah, she has a training company largely dealing in AI now, but tech training that represents or sort of their target demographic is underrepresented and female tech training. And
Very cool.
she actually uses AI quite adeptly, and she also has the ADHD, and but is smart as heck. And
Right.
and she said we were talking about it the other day because that's one of the great things about the shop is there's lots of great conversation there. And
Oh, I love it.
well, the problem that she actually thinks the problem that I find is it actually gets my tone. It understands my voice, like not. she's even tried to synthesize her voice for training packages so that
Wow.
use my voice to tell them these kind of things. And she says it's not quite right in the cadence and everything of the actual voice, but the voice that is embodied in the text, like how she writes, how she expresses herself. She says it nails it. It
Wow.
absolutely gets my voice. Now, the thing that she sort of then went, "Well, hang on. Well, if that's out there in the wild, somebody else could do that and not be me, but be a very
Yeah.
convincing simulacrum of me." And of
Yeah.
course, that opens an easy discussion of things. So these are the sort of people we have, and then we have just straight up bike people.
Right on.
Adventure riders. We have a guy that works in film that rode to Tuktoyaktuk from
Wow.
Toronto, which is,
Wow.
for those
That's a
that
hell
don't know, that's on our north coast. Did you know we have a north coast? It
it's
is
way, way up there.
it's 16,000 kilometers of riding, and in the workspace, we have all of these different people. So, community, whether it's around motorcycles, just around the location, around the mentality, that's a huge part of what Flying Squirrel is. We also have recently taken on a food and beverage partner, yay, called the International Palace of Joy, which I think
That
was a film reference, but I don't know.
so,
It's
you know what? If it's relating
catches
to
the ear.
food, you got my ear for sure.
Well, coincidentally, it's oysters and little snacky foods like chicken liver pate
Very
and
cool.
cocktails
Like
and drinks. So
like
it's
almost like a
we also
tapas
do
vibe
special
or
events there.
something.
Yeah, we do
Very
special
cool.
events there, and so it's a multi-use space that we're 5 years in. We're still trying to figure out how to turn it into a money fountain. Hasn't worked yet, but
Yeah.
we're still trying.
That's great, man. I've been following the progress on that too, and yeah, it sounds like it's got a good vibe, and it's something more than just like you said, it's about community, and that's I think more and more people are looking for that. And, it's in a world of many distractions, it's nice to find a little home you can head to, talk about the culture you love. Like I have a friend of mine, I'd kind of mentioned to you before, Karsten. He does all custom stuff for bikes. He's amazing. He'd be
Mhm.
such a neat fit to get him up there. But anyways, that's for another conversation. Either way, he is a very talented dude, and I was kind of showing him what you guys were doing. He thought that was really cool. He's all the way down in the valley of Nova Scotia, but doing his custom rigs and's got his own kind of fan base there. So he was really intrigued and thought it was a neat idea. So when you're not doing the flying squirreling at the garage, are you involved with any other musical projects right now? You were producing for a bit. You produced a couple albums from friends of mine, Alert the Medic, and you had a studio at one point in Toronto. But what are some of the other musical things that keep you going? Obviously, you've got your hobbies and what have you, and like you said, you've gone full analog with the bike. Do you keep your hand into talking to, say, Jeff Burrows
Oh
or
yeah,
any of
yeah.
the guys from Crash Karma? And do you guys ever think about doing another album? Obviously, the first 2 albums I thought were great, and but then it seems like, Tea Party, reformed, Jeff was busy, obviously, I Mother Earth sort of bringing back Edwin, just they were busy doing other things, but is there anything on the docket, like, just on the back burner?
Not really. I mean, I don't think any of us would say never, like that we
Sure.
would all say never say never. We still have a riotously funny text thread. A lot of love. I think that's the big thing with that band that I loved the most was they were just it was so much fun. There was not a lot of heavy dark. There was the occasional conflict, but there was nowhere near what I've historically known. And I think we were all mature enough. We'd been around the block a few times. Jeff and Edwin weren't working with their current bands. Jeff was doing and continues to all the charity work that he does. The
Oh,
drum
yeah.
one was
Yep.
his first time we actually played on stage together.
Oh,
So
wow.
that was kind of fun. And Ed obviously is, with I Mother Earth and doing his own thing. Amir does a lot of charity work for the causes that he believes in. And I
Very
think it's a
cool.
really important thing to put I mean, just at this stage of my life anyway, it's more important for me to put the value on the interpersonal relationships and saying, hey, we could get a budget from here and we could do this there. And, we are all very proud of those records. They're better records than I think they ever got recognized for. And that's
Yep.
me being uncharacteristically immodest.
No, that's great.
But there was just not what we do is sort of 90s big guitar rock with, smashing drums and a guy who yells his face off and yeah, good melodies, good hooks, all those things, but just the style of music was not in an open to be received market. At
Yeah.
the time. And not being, purely commercially driven, but there has to be a reality. We were touring in like I think we did 2 tours in a bus, which is the bottom line of how I prefer to tour now, but we did a
I
couple of
understand.
the in 12-passenger van and a trailer, like the old, earning your wings rock days, and,
Like,
thanks, I have wings, they're just fine, I
well,
love.
it kind of probably brought you back to before, the first Our Lady Peace album, and you'd done that. And I get that. People ask me, would you ever go back to teaching cooking classes full time? I wouldn't. It was something I did. Don't get me wrong. I loved it and I loved every experience with it. But now my interest is more on the macro now, developing stuff, systems, growing it, like this podcast, rebooting Chef Live, getting those things done. That's what interests me now. So yeah, I think our tastes and our palate changes from both, the musical end and from the cooking end, and that's where I like to be. I like to be a little more comfortable in my older age, to be fair, and I could probably feel the same way with you.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, if there were touring opportunities where we would be in a bus and it would be, 3 weeks, maybe a month on the absolute
Mhm.
outside,
Yep.
great. We love each other's company. The dominant memory I have of my time with Crash Karma is laughing my face off, just because I mean, obviously, they're great musicians. I've been so lucky with drummers. I mean, my
Yeah.
God, to play
Jeff.
Jeremy Taggart and Jeff Burrows. Yeah, that'll do for Canada.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, you did okay in the background, or sorry, the rhythm and, department for sure, both
well, the great thing is
fantastic
about
drummers.
as a guitar player, I suppose we're doing the analogies between cooking and
Yeah,
music. I would
yeah,
say that's like, being the guitar player in front of rhythm sections like I've had is like a chef coming into a kitchen that has got the best sous you've ever known.
yeah.
All the guys who are working the line
Solid.
girls they're just squared away. You make
Yep,
the call, the dish happens when it's supposed to happen at a high level. All you got to do is just sort of do what you do, and everything else will come along. And that's
exactly.
the great thing about being in front of a great rhythm section. They make me sound like I've got a stronger groove than I do. They make me play better because,
Yeah.
I'm just enjoying it so much more. I think there's nothing better as a musician to stand in front of a great drummer, because it just becomes easy. You stop thinking, you just start listening.
It's one of those unsaid things too. Like, I don't have the same experience as a musician. I play as an amateur level, but yeah, there's something about that rhythm section that makes that band better. And people who are not necessarily musically trained won't understand why that band's got it, but musicians do. And it often comes from that whole backline bass and the drums.
Yep.
That's my opinion. But yeah. Okay. So I have a little segment called the Chef Live 10, and it's just little signature questions I ask both chefs and musicians. What's interesting about this for people who are listening is Mike Turner is actually quite an accomplished cook on his own right. He understands the terminology of mise en place. He understands about getting things organized. And I do believe, Mike, before we get into this list, are you still involved with a restaurant in Toronto in some level, as an ownership level?
No, no, I'm,
Okay.
not currently.
Okay, cool. But you've dabbled in the restaurant world, and you definitely have some. You've directed me into some cool little nosh spots when I'm in the city, and you definitely have the pulse, I guess is what I'm trying to say, of certain restaurants. So, do you mind if I go through these questions quick? There's no wrong
Let's
answers,
I'll try
and
to
they
be
just
brief.
yeah, they just need a couple sentences. But no, please, if you have something more to share, go ahead. That'd be great. So, number one, every dish and every song starts somewhere. You can take this from a food or music perspective if you like. What's the first spark that gets your creativity cooking? Is there, what is it? Is it a book, as we talked earlier, a piece of art? Is it, just a vibe that you have going on? What are your thoughts on some of that?
Musically, it's always just been it comes from a guitar. I
Yeah,
pick up a guitar and something happens, and it's not all most of the time I know, okay, that's something, and I know if
right.
I just keep poking at it, it'll turn
Mm,
into a song.
hmm.
Personally, I need to work with other people on that front. I'm very selfish. I will play what I love to play, and if it's something new, I will play it until I don't like it anymore. Whereas when I'm working with people, they're like, "Dude, what was that?" Like when OLP wrote Starseed, I came up. We wrote that song in about 20 minutes, and I was
Wow.
playing around with a different tuning, double drop D, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Nah, nah, 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 nah." And Rain turns his head and goes, "What the hell was that?" I'm like, "Well, mainly D." But we started punching it around, and there, like I said, there was enough juice in that initial idea
Yeah.
fill it out to being a song. Not that the contributions that occurred after the fact were any less valuable. It was definitely that was enough fuel in the tank that we knew. I knew personally, I knew that was going to get to a really good place.
It was like an earworm or a hook or something you
Yeah,
wanted to
exactly.
repeat. Yeah, yeah,
I would imagine it's a similar thing if you're as a chef. You know, the first time you taste sumac,
totally.
you're like, "What is that?
I
Lemon,
know.
but not lemon, but what that? Oh, I'm
It's an
feeling
explosion. It
perfect."
really is. Yeah. No, you're
Yeah, yeah, and
100%
it just
right.
opens up your head, or you're, you know, if you're lucky enough to be in the close enough to the source of your food to work with a supplier, and they say, you know, here's a great product, whether it's carrot or a cow, you know, here's a great piece of protein. Oh my God, what I could do with this.
Even things like wild parsnips or leek ramps or things like that that are familiar and approachable, but in a more wild, earthy way. It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's fun to do that.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
so
same thing.
sorry, go ahead. No, no.
No, I was just gonna say that's very much the case where it's like, I know enough about this whole thing, this music thing or this cooking thing, but something's interesting about this little detail that now I gotta push it and
Right.
expand it.
Well, yeah, totally, 100%. So, the secret ingredient, and you kinda hinted on that too, you're guitar-based, so that's where you go to first, but what's the one thing that defines your flavor in your food or your sound that people may not notice right away? Because when you were forming Crash Karma, I read an interview once where the guys were saying, "Do the Mike Turner you do your Mike Turner guitar, your style, don't change anything for this, and you just do what's right." Can you define that, or have you even thought about it?
If I thought about it, I'd probably mess it up.
Yeah, fair enough,
think
yeah.
I think it's more recognizable than it is decided upon. I know there are certain things I like that, you know, wide voicings, rhythmic stuff, that's just my taste, and I think the thing that probably drives it is if I recognize in my playing something that's too close to that which I already know, or you're like, "Wow, that sounds just like so and so," I
Right,
immediately stop doing it and try to
right.
find something that feels at least a bit original. And that's been definitely that's been my guiding figure for a long time.
What
I
is the
gotta be me.
You gotta be me. Me too. I don't you know what? I wouldn't wanna be anyone else, and I wouldn't want anyone else to be me. It's been a hell of a trip. But, so what's your most memorable meal or food experience you've had? And it could be on the road or even just locally in Toronto. Is there one that sticks out? I'd like to talk about the road because I mean, maybe you've had the opportunity, to do that. I don't know. Is it always bump and grind as far as being on the tour? I mean, you guys did a lot of miles.
Yeah, and in that case, I learned a lot about why you order a club sandwich.
Yes.
Gotta have a safety order, man, because you're I mean, I've had some great meals on the road, but they were as much about the people I was with and the circumstances around it than necessarily the meal itself. I
Mhm.
think if I well, Vancouver aside, because in Vancouver, if we were there for any moment's length of time, they would take us to Tojo's for sushi. And the man is a genius. I love sushi. You sit down to omakase on the magic dinner card from Sony. That is that's a good meal. I think though I would say I could not say top meal ever, but one that sticks out in memory I thought about recently. Karen and I were in Paris, and this is when we were probably maybe the second time. She has to go to Paris quite a bit for work.
Right.
And we didn't have a plan for dinner. We were just walking around the Latin Quarter, which is near where we're staying, because we'd planned to go to a restaurant, but it was closed. Like the plumbing was bad or something, or I don't
Gotcha.
remember exactly why. But we're just walking around. It's like, oh, this place looks okay, and it was the most unified, mind blowing meal I've ever had in my life. It was the through mark was smoke, and it went from the appetizer all the way to a smoked chocolate mousse at the end, and it was just it played in different places of each dish, and it was incredible. And it was not a recognized restaurant. It was not I mean, we on that trip, we ate at Atelier de Joel Rochon, which was pretty damn nice, but that because it was unexpected, we're just like, "Oh, well, we'll just go and grab some steak frites or something." And it
Totally.
was just incredible. The pacing was perfect, the service was perfect, the creativity that went into every dish was just stop you in your tracks good.
Well, it's interesting. I've had great meals at Michelin star restaurants, and I've had amazing meals at just a small little trattoria in Rome. And, uh, and not to knock the Michelin system, I understand, but it's almost, and I've been very open to this in other shows that I've done, is it's been monetized to the point where, yes, if you can get your 1 star, you are definitely gonna increase your volume. It's just without question. I don't know everything that goes into the Michelin rating. I've been to some but I've never ever cooked on that level, with enough repetition in a restaurant to do that. It's It's not something that I don't first of all, I don't even know if I have currently, I don't know if I have the discipline to do it because 'cause I'll tell you, it's a disciplines game. And I don't know if it really appeals to me. I like rustic comfort food, and I for me, it's the food first. I'm not always worried and nitpicking about all the little details that would go into it. But the great thing is Michelin has sort of changed their tune a bit too, and
Very much.
they are identifying places, especially in, big places like Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver, that are Michelin quality on more of like a bistro style. And that's really good to see because that food deserves respect too. And back to the smoke thing, what's great about smoke is it goes with everything. It goes with salt, sweet, sour, umami, all of that. And it's one of the things that I sometimes overuse, and it's been used a lot now, especially with the charcoal grilling in a lot of restaurants. Which is great. I love it. It adds a whole layer, but things kind of come and go in not fads, but chefs get bored. They get turned on to something and then everyone gets turned on to it, right? And then it sort of becomes, they say it's a fad. It's not. It isn't. It isn't. It's just the chefs need something to fuel that energy. And sometimes it happens to do with smoking or using these fire grills and stuff like that. So I just want to ask you, I don't know if you want to, but can you give me 3 restaurants in Toronto that you absolutely love? Because I go to Toronto quite a bit and like, they don't have to be Michelin stars. In fact, most of the ones that we've ever eaten at weren't Michelin stars. Is there any there's one you told me about before, I don't have it in front of me, but you said they hit it every time.
Do I wanna tell anyone?
I don't know. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fair. You don't have to. You give me the runner up.
The Michelin guy did recognize him, and I've recognized him, I think, 3 years running. Is called the Wood Owl.
The Wood Owl.
The
Yeah.
chef, Tabitha, is not classically trained.
That's
She just
okay.
has an incredible palate and the menu rolls over quite a bit, and it's very seasonally driven, and it's very, very creative. I don't like the word fusion because it got overused, but
Yeah.
you would as likely taste South American elements as Japanese, as French, but done in a way that doesn't feel like she's, hammering a square peg in a round hole. The service there is great. The people at the front of house, Bonnie and uh, Cody, really good wine list. Like, I think the wine list tops out at $200. Whereas you go to what's its nuts in the Four Seasons, Cafe Balud, and there's like, yeah, there's the $5,000 bottle of Margaux if you really want to impress someone. So I would definitely say the Wood Owl is a go-to. Absolutely.
Okay.
There's a great little sushi joint nearby called Maru, Maru. That chef came up with, he calls them sushi canapé, where he takes a bit of nori, lightly, very light, like incredibly lightly batters it in tempura, fries it, deep fries it, and then lays it over something so that it forms like a taco shell.
Wow. That's
And
cool.
it's lightly salted, and then he puts in the rice and the fish or whatever else he's doing. And it's incredible. Like I could eat 35 of them.
It's one of those places you go in and you're like, oh, what have I done?
Yeah, so I know what I'm gonna do. And a very nice sake too, which is not that alcohol is everything in there, but
No,
that's one of
I
those
like a
things
good
that
sake. Yeah. I like a
executed
good
well.
glass of wine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
anything that's
100%.
executed well. But by the same token, I don't mind a good wing joint. Chicken wings
Hell
and
yeah.
Coors Light, totally fine by me too.
No, for sure. I listen, anything that like we were talking earlier off the mic. Yeah, if it's done with respect and care, yeah, I'm in, man. Like it doesn't matter whether there's a barbecue joint, sushi place, bistro, Michelin star. Michelin star, you would think that, obviously there's some passion there. But okay, so I want to kind of swing around to what you do at home because I've had your food and I've had dinners. I've had one dinner at your place and we've hung out at restaurants. What is your go-to dish when you've got people coming over? Is there something that you do regular that people go, "Oh, Mike's gonna make his blah." Is there something like that, or do you hate repeating yourself?
Well, I am the sous chef,
Yes.
clearly. Well, I guess I'm the line cook. The executive chef is my beloved, and
Uh,
it's become a bit of a running joke that that's the first time we try our recipes a lot of times.
okay, cool.
Like, can we maybe not do that? Can
Right,
we do a recipe that we actually know and we're not going, shit, is this going to come together? Because,
right.
for those that don't know, the most impressive thing about chefs is that they can turn a bunch of covers. I'm hard. If you 6 people I can handle, 8 people, oh, it's getting twitchy.
I
I'm
get it.
not sure that all the dishes are going to hit the plate at the same time, hot, and
Right.
it's just that's where the massive skill lies in restaurant level cooking in my mind.
It's a dance for
Recipes,
sure.
absolutely, man. That's why there's brigade system exists because one person can't do everything at that
No,
level.
no, not on a large scale, and not on, various repetitions for sure. Like if
And be
there's some
consistent.
restaurants now that are smaller and they only do one seating and it's like 12 people come in and there's a chef and an assistant. You see a lot of that. But to have a big production, oh God, no, no, no. You need
Yeah,
people.
so recipe that that is a go-to when people are coming over. There's more components to the dish because or to the meal, depending upon what kind of deal meal we're doing. I do have there's a Jeffrey Zakarian crispy duck breast recipe that's so consistently good, and I've got two big cast iron pans, so that makes my life
Yeah.
a little easier.
But yeah, cast iron.
Well, having two of them, two duck breasts in a pan is okay. Three, you better have some pretty, and that's the other thing that you chefs have an advantage of. The BTU your burners have, that's triple
Yeah,
what we get.
exactly. But you're smart in using the cast iron because that's going to hold its heat better. So yeah,
And I'll
but
stick it in a 450-degree oven and leave it there for a half an hour before I start, and then I will take my
sure.
fingerprints off.
Yeah, if you're not careful, you will. I don't know if I could do burglaries, but I know that some of my fingerprints are thinner than they should be, just from accidents on the road. It happens. Doesn't happen as much now, but especially when I first started out, I spent some nights on the line in pain for sure.
Well, it's funny,
So
we probably as a guitar players and chefs are the only people that can actually turn things in a pan with their fingertips. Those
yeah, I say
interventions are long gone, man.
I've got the calluses are strong with us for sure, to say the least, right? Okay, so I want to ask you one last question. Name one person. I know it's kind of cheesy, but it's obligatory. Name one person alive or past that you'd love to host a dinner party for and have. It could be a chef, it could be a mentor, it could be someone in the music industry. Like I said, deceased or alive. And why would you like to have them there? Because I know community is a big part of your life, and you like people, for the most part. One thing I said about you, Mike, is you do not throw away other people's ideas just because you don't agree with them. And I've seen that time and time again with you. And I'm not just saying that because you're my friend, but it's true. You respect other people's opinions, even if they're not yours. So it may even be a person you don't necessarily agree with, but you'd love to pick their brains. So, anyways, I know I've said a lot there, but is there anyone that comes to mind?
Well, selfish, they'd be Bourdain, for sure.
Oh, yeah, 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 oh god, his stories alone, you know what I mean? Like, just to hear about the days when he was in New York as a young line chef back in the early '80s, that alone, I would love to talk to him about, like,
Yeah,
just,
I'd like to
you
see
know
I'd like to hear the stuff that didn't get into Kitchen Confidential because he's like, "No, I can't say that. I can't tell that story."
I agree,
But
yeah,
the other thing, and you kinda touched on this, you led me towards this. I had a few ideas in my head when you started to ask the question, but you led me through it. And part of it was because the biggest thing that he did, and I think he did more important things as not a chef. He was so much about connect to the people you're with. Food is a great way to do that. Sharing a meal with people, you will know them better at the end of the meal. You just will. So whether you're in Vietnam having pho, or you're, in, deep Trump country, Michigan, with a bunch of gun nuts. You're gonna find common ground, and that's the value in this life. Honestly, is finding ways to connect with people because division is simple. Division is a gut reaction.
yes,
Connection is difficult.
it
Connection,
is.
not always. Sometimes it's just natural and easy. You're like, oh yeah, I totally get this person. Like we got
I
along
think it
well.
has to do with our sort of how we go into the situation. If we're open to finding a connection, but if we're closed off, we're not going to. I think it does start with us and our intention on when you sit down with that person. It's like if you sit down and you're like, "There's no way I'm going to find something in common with this person." Well, you're not. It's as simple as that. And opening that door, and food is the breaking bread, as they say, is one of the best ways to do that.
I think that was the great thing about Bourdain's various shows. They were always about connecting. I mean, yeah, the food is the thing, but that was more. It was more about how do we connect.
Mm,
And that's why it would be. I think it would be a wonderfully, and with similar musical tastes. I might lean a little more into the alt than the harder rock, and then the punk thing. But I mean, that's New York, right?
yes, totally.
Him and Iggy Pop. That had to be just a delightful hang.
That was that's like a marriage made in heaven because 'cause they're both rebels from different sides of the line, if you will, and not yeah, I think that's probably the best way to describe it. I mean, there's a lot of rebels in kitchens, there's a lot of rebels in
Like you
rock and
think?
roll, but yeah, right? But those guys define themselves, and people know who Iggy Pop is and what he says, and what's one of the first things you say is he was a bit of a rebel, right? And inspirational, but, it seemed approachable, in a way, like with his interviews and what have you, but definitely had his own opinions about stuff. And same with Andy Bourdain. I mean, he was saying that some of the best ways to learn about a small community or even a bigger community, just go to a pub and have a beer on a slow night.
Go to where the
Just get to
taxi drivers eat.
Absolutely. Yeah. 100%.
You know,
It's cool.
I think both of them, as you hit on, as rebels. You know, they early, you know, in your life when you're feeling rebellious and it's all powered by piss and vinegar and you're
Yep.
"Rawr!"
Yeah. Yeah.
When you get through life for a while, you go like, you know, that's really fucking tiring.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know somewhere behind whatever superficial things, we can find a connection. I'd like to think you can do that all the time. Unfortunately, I think that's not the case, but it is more easily accomplished by dialogue, having a
Hmm.
beer, having a
Hmm.
hangout, than
Yes.
any sort of confrontation. Well, you said this and that's just wrong, and I want to say and you didn't, and that,
Yeah. No,
that's
totally.
really not starting a dialogue.
You have to come in with a mindset that, hey, you know what? All right, maybe someone doesn't say, like, I have a really one of my best friends in the world. I won't say his name, but he our politics are very different. I won't go into what they are, but it doesn't matter. But I love that guy because I know, you know what? He's a great father. He's a great provider. He's a good human being. He you know, I may have different values, but I love that our friendship, I can call him out about it, and he can talk to me about stuff too. And I don't mean call it out as an I'm right and you're wrong, but let's discuss that idea further. And I'll tell you why I don't really agree with it. But if you still do, hey brother, you're welcome at my table. I love you anyways.
Yeah, I think that's a good outlook. I mean,
You know,
like I said, division is easy.
it is. No, totally. Well, listen, man, I can't
Good
thank
luck
you
trying to
enough.
get that down, brother.
Yeah, I know, eh? Editing, and I'll be editing for the next year. But listen, I can't thank you enough, Mike, for taking the time out to do this. I know we've touched base over the years. And listen, I know I've said it before, but I'll say it again. If I get into Toronto sometime and maybe you can drop by the shop and make an East Coast chowder or something, as long as I don't step on the toes of your food and beverage people, I would love to do that and just to see you again. And I know I've been in town a couple times, but it just the timing doesn't always work out. But I'll be back as one
Some
'80s,
Austrian movie.
some guy. So
Well, actually,
the
James, the guy that wrote the Tuck, he was the DIT. He's a DIT, digital
okay,
technician. He is the
okay,
DIT on Fubar. And he said Arnold was lovely.
wow, cool.
So yeah, again,
I'm sure he's a good guy. Like, you know what I mean? He's done okay for himself, at least from a
yeah,
monetary state of view,
Mr.
right?
Goobinator.
Yeah, he did the American dream, I guess you could say. But anyways, listen, man, thank you so much. And do you mind if I spread the word about the bike shop on my when
Yeah,
I do
definitely.
my socials on that? And
All about that.
I'll definitely will be by. And I can't thank you enough, man. It was good getting caught up. And let's not make this the one and only. I'd love to chat again sometime.
Okie dokie, man.
Thanks, brother.
Take care of yourself.
And that wraps up episode 2 of the Backstage Kitchen podcast. A huge thank you once again to Mike Turner for his stories, the riffs, the wisdom, and for proving that English lit majors can, in fact, change the course of Canadian rock. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you follow, subscribe, leave a rating, or share it with someone who loves food, music, or great storytelling. It really helps to grow the show. I'm on Spotify, remember? You probably know that because you're listening to it. Now, let me tell you who's joining us next. In our next episode, we step back into the culinary world with Chef Roland Glauser, one of Nova Scotia's most respected chefs, mentors, and culinary leaders. Chef Roland has built an extraordinary career blending classical technique, maritime ingredients, and a philosophy rooted in patience, craftsmanship, and authenticity. We'll talk about his journey through the industry, the evolution of fine dining in Atlantic Canada, the discipline behind great cooking, the stories that shaped him from both inside and outside the kitchen. If you're someone who loves hearing from chefs who have lived the craft, not just practiced it, then this is going to be a special one. I've known Roland for many years, and he's originally from Switzerland, came to Halifax in the early 80s. He's worked at many legacy properties in Halifax before moving to Shelburne in 1995 to open up his restaurant, the Charlotte Lane Bistro, with his wife. So I can't wait for you to hear his stories. He's a fantastic gentleman, and I'm very, very grateful to have him on the show. Make sure you're following us on the socials, Instagram at the underscore backstage underscore kitchen podcast, Facebook, the Backstage Kitchen Podcast, and of course, everything Chef Live is at Chef Live on Instagram and cheflive.ca. Thanks for listening. Stay hungry, stay curious, stay loud, and I'll see you next time with Chef Roland Glauser. For your listening pleasure, I want you to listen to one of my favorite bands. Here are the Standstills with their 2018 hit Wild from the album Badlands. They're letting me use this as the theme for the show, but I want you to listen to its entirety. It's a fantastic track. So till next week, enjoy Wild from the Standstills.